Hey guys, so this is probably going to be a shorter video. We'll see how much of the sanding I actually keep in. So Timmy, you've been pestering me in every chat. This is for you. We're going to start working on the base. And part of the reasoning for that is this and the LP build are probably going to be my two summer projects just to keep me busy and on a tight budget because I've got pretty much everything I need for these. I just need to get one more stain for the base, and the parts for the LP build are literally on a slow boat from China. So when those arrive, I will probably go back and forth between base kit staining and the LP build because I will have to do a little research on when I hit the stain part, how long I've got to let stuff dry between videos, and so then I'll probably shoot an LP build video while I'm waiting for the next step in that. But let's go to the overhead here. So as you can see, we can't work on this like this. So just give me 1 second. All right, guys, and just like that, we have disassembled everything except for the one chunk of foam under the pickup, which is glued down. I don't think I'm going to need to get in there with sandpaper or stain, so I'm going to leave it. The other one didn't have the backing peeled off, so that one came out. Um, I have the neck and body disassembled. I bagged up everything and labeled all the bags so I know which parts and which screws go where so that I don't screw up that part when we get to putting it back together. And I'm just going to go through what I'm going to be doing for sanding and probably go through one. I'm going to set the neck aside. We'll just sand the neck off camera because I'm just going to do the body. It's going to be the easiest thing to look at on camera. And what I will do is do one pass of sanding on the body, one pass of wiping it down with denatured alcohol, and just to expand on that, I did a lot of reading before I started this. I did a lot of video watching, including a lot of your videos, and there are some generalities about how to sand a body, but everybody seems to have a little bit of their own take on it. And what I'm encouraging anybody who's starting out like me to do, watch a lot of different people do it, read a lot of different things about it, and then see what clicks with what you have on hand, what you can afford, and also what clicks with you in your brain as to, okay, I get it. That's how I'm going to do this. The good part about this, short of sawing something off, there's not much you can do to this that's going to wreck it. You can always start over. It's just wood. If something bad happens, just start over from the beginning and get it till you get it right. With that being said, I did look up and it said to start with about a 120 grit to take away any imperfections, any uh, planing marks, etc., and to sand with the grain. I did also look, it's you're not wanting to press down like you're trying to take a whole bunch of wood off. You're just trying to smooth things out. So it said to start with 120, go to 180. I don't have a 180 sanding sponge, but I'll just wrap it around this and then end up on 220, and not to go too much higher than that because any higher grits and you're going to start basically polishing the wood. And some sites I saw said that you'd be filling the pore so it wouldn't accept stain real well. I guess getting it really smooth like that, if you're going to put primer and paint on it, might be okay. But for stain, it said to stop around 220. So that's what I'm going to do. And in between each sanding, I'm going to wipe the body down with the denatured alcohol to get any of the sawdust up, but also to make any of the grain stand up. So with the next one that we sand that down so we get it nice and flat and smooth. So as I go through this, I'm going to talk to you guys about any questions I have. I encourage everybody in the comments who's done this sort of thing before. Tell me what you do. Tell me if you think I did anything wrong. Because like I said, I can always go back and try it again. Ultimately, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And if the end product isn't what I like, well, it'll be that way for a while till I figure out what the next steps are and maybe try and circle back and do it a little differently. The one thing I did know, I've seen a bunch of people say to be careful when you're sanding around these because you don't want to mess up the edge of the pockets too much. The pocket actually looks pretty nice, just some nibbage on both sides of that. Trademark Ted. And oh, and while I'm at it, I'll have to shout out Casey too. You guys saw the hat again. This has worked out great for me. It's making sure that wherever I'm looking, the mic is the same distance from my mouth, so I'm not spiking things when I would look down into the mic when it was attached to my chest. And I have about 1,000,000 hats, so that'll be something that I can change up every time I do one of these segments. And you know what? I should probably get some hats from all of you guys too that have it in your merch stores. So just so I can represent everybody else, even if I'm not doing a direct shout out. So we're going to start with the 120. It's said to sand with the grain. So I'm going to try and stick with that and not do circles, not back and forth. So I'm going to start at one end. I'm not putting much weight on this at all. I am letting the block do its work. And hopefully the AI noise filter on this is doing what it's supposed to, and you're not just hearing the sanding block go back and forth. And I am using a sanding sponge because there's a fair amount of contours on this body. Trying to keep as straight as I can. I'm going to get the top first, then I'm going to try and get the sides and the pocket. Oh yeah, I can see some of the nibbage from the screw holes coming off. That's good. So already looking good. The body wasn't too bad. I don't think there is any sealer on here, but from what I've read, that is what the denatured alcohol will do as well. It'll, when you wipe it up, if you see any shiny spots, you're going to see places where there might be sealer, where there might be glue spots, which I haven't seen a lot here either. And I know that I'm going to end up with sawdust in these pockets, so I'm going to be taking my vacuum to get that out of there between times too. And like I said, most of this I'm going to do off camera because I don't know that I want to make an hour and a half standing video to completely bore you guys, but also I don't know that I can talk straight for an hour and a half, 2 hours of sanding, and I don't know how much sped up footage of me sanding you want to see. You will notice too that I am just working on my guitar mat for this. I decided for the sanding, that's fine because I can number one, I can try and pick up as much of that sawdust as possible and get some of it back in my baggie here. So we've got sawdust that comes in handy for any number of things if you screw something up. And also just because it's going to be too much of a pain to constantly change the paper out. I did get myself a big roll of paper like Ted has for his bench though for when I start staining because I don't want to end up with stain on my table or on my mat. I also don't want anything textured like this mat touching the body at all when it's got any kind of stain on it. I do have stands that I'm going to set it on, but you know, just in case. So, all right. I think we've got the top there. Let's see if we can just lightly sand out the pocket. It's not like I'm going to be staining in here, so I'm probably not going to hit that with the higher grits unless somebody in the comments tells me, yeah, it would be a good idea to do that. But I just want to get the nibbage off of the screw holes, which I'm probably going to take if I have a small round file to get the inside out too, because the screws, when I put the neck on, I did notice that they were threaded into the body a little bit and we want it to thread into the neck. So if I can just give it a little extra room, that'll make sure that when I seat this, I'll get the neck nice and clean. All right, that feels pretty good. Let's get the edges. Now it said to go with the grain. This is going to be a little tougher. Hopefully you guys can see this because I've got the rounded edges to go on, a lot of contours, which is why I'm using a sanding sponge. Just a little bit of give. It's not super soft. It's just enough give so that I'll be able to get into the contours and get everything. And we'll get the back here when I'm done. And then we'll wipe everything down. We'll see what we've got. I'll give it a feel before I do this too. Because like I said, I want to make sure that this isn't going to feel incredibly smooth. This is leaving its own set of scratches in there, which is what the higher grits is going to take out. I'm just trying to get this prepped where the surface where the stain will take as evenly as possible to any place that I haven't hit with grain filler. And the next video, after I take care of all this sanding down to up to the 220 grit, is going to be about grain fill because I have questions. And I'm sure that a lot of you that are watching in the community will be able to give me a couple tips. I'm just hoping. I know once we get past the grain filler, or maybe when I'm doing the grain filler, I'll clue you guys into what my color scheme was going to be. Let's see. Grain is going that way. This is awful close to the camera, I know. And like I said, just a light touch because I don't want to take a ton of wood off. I'm just trying to smooth out that grain. I don't want to create any more divots than are already in this body, which to be fair, for what did I get this for on Temu? I want to say around 50-ish bucks after the coupon that the Bald Shredder had in one of his videos. All right, now we should be back to this way. Yeah, on the edges of the body, there's no way I'm going to be going with the grain the entire time because as it wraps around, it's going straight here, but over here, I've got to go back and forth. So that's another reason to do a light touch because you don't want to overdo anything. But I will be depending on you guys to tell me, am I doing enough sanding? I'm just going to be going by feel because I've seen so many different takes on videos and websites about how many times you should sand. In my mind, I'm just going to go till it feels like it's going to be decent and until I don't see any weirdness when I'm wiping off the denatured alcohol. So we can make sure that there's no weird spots where the stain's just going to decide, nope, I don't want to stick. Yeah, this is a little tough. One thing I don't have, which I've seen others have, is like little rounded dowels with sandpaper on them to get into those curved areas. That's is what it is. A little unfortunate, but oh well. All right. I think I caught all the edges, but like I said, as I go along, I'll be doing this by feel, and I don't want to bore you guys too much. That's why I'm trying to stay talkative here. This weekend was the big Gibson event in Waukesha, which, as many of you know in the community as we talk, I just didn't have the opportunity to go to because we just had a lot of car trouble. Thankfully, that's going to be coming to an end this week, which makes me extremely happy because it's just been... So we've been blessed enough to make things do. Things could be far, far worse, and I'll just count my blessings as they come, right? I'm here. I woke up. It's another day. I'm getting to work on a guitar, so can't be too bad, right? And we've got light at the end of the tunnel as far as a lot of our other issues currently go. I do have parts coming for the LP build too, which is going to be cool. Because I will have questions about that. That's another thing I'm going to do off camera in between this sanding and the next video is try and clean up that body a little more. I got lots of suggestions from you guys for checking a few things out, and I'm going to do that. But like I said, off camera, I think the next thing I want to do, or video I want to do with the build is just go over everything I did off camera. If I come across anything interesting or problematic when I'm doing the cleaning of the body, I will pop a quick video in and just throw that in. But I do want to start putting parts on once they arrive. But like I said earlier, they are on a literal slow boat from China, which is fine. And I will do a little more detail on that once I get all the parts and talk about Music Lily and my thoughts on their parts and their website versus Amazon, etc., etc. I'll have to look. Some lucky. Yeah, I've got sawdust all over my pants now. I will have to look. All right, I think that's good for the first coat. Let me wipe things down a little bit here just to get most of the sawdust onto the mat. I'm going to take my vacuum real quick, clean that up so I'm not getting as much of the stuff on there as I can. But yeah, back to the Gibson thing. I'll have to look and see who won that. Somebody won a fantastic 70s Black Beauty looking Les Paul. So congratulations to them. I didn't bother entering because you had to be present to win. So que sera sera. It's not like I don't have enough guitars to keep me busy. All right, 1 second, guys. All right, so that BCG, that was for you because I'm trying to keep my mat clean. You guys can probably see on the camera there's stains and crap all over this. I think at some point I'm going to need to get a new mat. I'm going to try and get one that goes to the entire end of the table. But like I said, you make do with what you've got. All right, let's get that body back up here. And the other product that I've got sitting up here, you can kind of see. I was just at Menards for a couple of other things. Got your big old Rolo rags. These are basically just like t-shirt material. So I'm going to pull one of these out, chase the rabbit fur off of it. That is another reason I am staining and not painting. I am going to have to make sure that before I start staining, I thoroughly vacuum out here and then make myself some kind of tent to go over the body while the stain sets. Otherwise, I'm going to end up with a very 70s looking guitar with a fur burst, right? All right. So we've got our nice little cloth. Let's get a little of the denatured alcohol on there, and we'll just start wiping it down. I don't know how wet this has to be, but I don't want to pour it directly on the body. But the good thing about the denatured alcohol, from what I was told, number one, oh, look at that. You can see the wood when you're doing it, but it's going to pull up. Yeah, you can see it's pulling up sawdust. And we just want to do that so that we can see if there is any weird shiny spots as it dries. Woo! And it's a good thing it's a nice day so that we can have the ventilation open. The windows are open in the different rooms. And oh yeah, that grain looks really nice. I have a feeling when this takes the grain filler and stain, this is going to turn out fantastic. I know some of you had said you would keep it natural, but that's not what I had in mind. That being said, if things don't turn out the way I want, this is always an option when we go back, because you can always go back. The stain options that I chose don't work out, well, then we go back to sanding, and we'll see about taking that down to some kind of just a natural finish, just maybe tung oil and clear coat. Yeah, that's drying out rather nicely, rather quickly. I didn't see any weird shiny spots as we were going. I didn't see anything that looked like a glue spot. We'll see what happens as it dries. Like I said, not staining in here, but I want to get the sawdust out of the pocket. Take the vacuum here and just see if we can get any, a little more alcohol. Let's wipe down the sides. Try and get you in camera here so you can see what I'm doing. So besides getting the sawdust out, this supposedly raises the grain again. So when I come back with the 180, we should be able to knock that down, wipe again, and then yeah, this is actually a really nice looking body, for especially for what I paid for this kit. I forget what it said in the video or anything. There wasn't any real specs on it, but I do believe this is just basswood, which perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with basswood. Really any wood, depending, just so long as it's not overly soft. Basswood's not an incredibly hard wood, but there's not too many screws here, and I didn't overdo it. I'm just gonna wax the screws when I put everything back together so that we can make sure that everything sits good and tight. Set that back down. Move to a different part of my rag here. Cool thing about these rags too is I can wash these and reuse them if they haven't gotten really gross. I'm going to use one of these for the stain as well, so we'll definitely probably be getting rid of those when we go. Yeah, I'm not really not seeing a whole lot of weirdness with shiny spots, so good job, Glarry. I don't think you put an abundance of sealer on here. If you did anything, it was just to keep the wood from getting weird as it sat in transit. We do have, what is that? Can't really tell what that is there. It's a weird mark in the wood. It feels fine though, so that'll just be a character mark. The stain that's going to be on the sides probably won't show that as much as what I planned for the top, so we should be good. Need to get that a little wetter again. Then we'll just wipe off the back. I'll vacuum. Well, I'll do that off camera. We'll wipe off the back. I'll just ask any further questions I have. That might have been a little much alcohol, but that's fine. Like I said, it dries fast, raises the grain. It's being sanded down anyways. Okay, we've come back around the top. We'll lay this down and we'll wipe off the back quick. Just going to get just a little bit. Yeah, we're still good for now. So that we can see. I'm trying to keep moving the towel around to clean spots so that I'm not just rubbing sand dust that I took off back into the grain. And again, if I'm getting this all wrong, please let me know in the comments. Just learning and hopefully not screwing it up. So I'm gonna have to do the same to the neck, but I'll do that off camera. So I'm gonna do the 120 on the neck and the headstock when we're done. Um, I'm not gonna worry about taping things up because just sawdust and denatured alcohol. But when I stain, I'm gonna ask you guys a question about what you do with the tops and the sides, whether you just freeball it or do you tape things up. So we'll repeat that question when we get to that point. Um, yeah, I'm not seeing anything terribly shiny or anything that looks like a weird glue spot anywhere on the body. So say what you will about Glarry instruments. I know me and Ubi love them, right? We're champions of the Glarry brand. Um, I don't know. I've never had a Glarry in house, so that's one of those things. Like the everybody saying that Gibson headstocks always break. Well, you know what? Some of them do, I'm sure. Some Glarrys, I'm imagining Glarry is pretty much hit and miss from what I've seen out of a lot of you guys in the community. But it's just wood. So unless it was something that was totally screwed up at the factory, like the CNC cut something at a weird angle, you can make it into something playable. And the bass, when I had it put together, seemed perfectly fine to me. I'm going to have to dial it in, and I'll be depending on a few people's help when I get to the setup point after everything's done. All right. So everything is dried out. This is still working on drying. Nothing's showing up shiny. So let's do this. We're going to give some final thoughts here, and then I will close the video out. All right, guys, I think that's going to about do it for today. Like I said, just to put a timestamp on it, yesterday was the big Gibson event on the 13th in Waukesha that I didn't get to go to, but oh well. I'm looking forward to looking at some of the stuff online to see how it was. Um, Today being Sunday, and hopefully all of you have a fantastic week. Hopefully the rest of this process goes well with the neck and the sanding. Like I said, I'll pop up and include anything that interesting that happens. Otherwise, just know that it was just a bunch of sanding that I saved you from watching. And we'll probably see you again Wednesday. I think I'm going to be ready to do grain filling on Wednesday, and next weekend is Father's Day, so we're going to see what happens there. I might take the day off for that from YouTube and everything. So we'll see. But until then, we'll catch you next time.